This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview. Joining me on Stockbox today is Melissa Sturgis, the CEO of Ananda Developments. Hi, Melissa. How are you?
Morning. Good to speak to you.
It's good to have you on, Melissa. It's a good day, isn't it, for Ananda Developments? You've got your license grant.
Yes, it is a good day for us. Thank you very much. And I think many shareholders have been very, very patient for a very, very long time. We put our application into the Home Office in October 2019. And so, yes, it's been a long haul with obviously a pretty good break for COVID for 11 months in the middle there. But look, a testament to the team. We have a very, very strong advisory team of lawyers and scientists and security people. And we've all worked very closely with the Home Office and the MHRA to get us to this point where the Home Office has decided to grant us a license, initially for research and with the ultimate objective, as I think we all know and shareholders certainly know, with the ultimate objective of being a grower of premium quality cannabis for the UK medicinal cannabis market, and then into the European space, which we also know is a strong medicinal cannabis market and growing.
Okay. And I noticed as well in the RNS that you said you're going to be pressing on with speed. So what are the next steps then? What are the plans?
Yes, we were fortunate to be able to raise a little bit of money in March this year, and we set that aside on the balance sheet for the build out of the first phase of our work. So immediately we can start the construction of the research and development facility. And as per the announcement this morning, the plan immediately is to stabilize 65 strains of medicinal cannabis and do some field trials. So the idea is to start to stabilize strains of cannabis that are going to be potentially useful for the indications that are currently being treated medically with cannabis in the UK and in Europe and other jurisdictions at the moment. So Parkinson's disease, sclerosis, and definitely epilepsy is one of them. We work very closely with Maple Tree, with Mike Barnes and Hannah Deacon. So epilepsy and taking care of children's epileptic needs with medicinal cannabis is certainly up there on our radar. So it's stabilizing strains and it's understanding and stabilizing the genetic profiles of them, because this is not something like growing tomatoes where you've got 25, 30 or probably many more years of genetic work having been done. So a lot of this early genetic work still has to be done in medical cannabis to get these strains to the point where they can be grown accurately, consistently, and to a high level of quality. Okay. So it's doing that, and then it's going into field trials to start to understand how we can then scale up the ability to produce commercially in the longer term. From a licensing perspective, the initial license is for research and development, and then we will apply at a later date for the ability to move into commercial growing when we feel that we're ready, and obviously when if the Home Office feels that that is appropriate.
Okay, so when you talk about stabilizing different strains of cannabis, that is almost like is it selective breeding as you would go through? You mentioned a tomato there to get the particular crop that you want, and then you can produce that seed stock over and over again for consistent results. Yeah, is that what they? Yeah. Okay.
Yep, that's absolutely it. You know, some of the images that we have from our partners who grew for GW Pharmaceuticals under previous licenses, it's been absolutely fascinating to look at the growing they did. You know, they started out with trialing certain seeds in certain conditions, and they got very variable results. So over a period of 4 years, they worked out exactly what sorts of growing conditions worked for what sorts of seeds and what sorts of plants and what sorts of THC, CBD and terpene profiles. So you're exactly on point. It's all about matching the stabilization process with the actual physical growing conditions, with the light that's available and the warmth that you can create in these multi-chapelle structures without any artificial heat, I might add, and without any artificial light, and matching them to what is being needed and used in the medicinal cannabis space at the moment.
Okay. And just on the growing strategy then, you touched on it then, you mentioned in the RNS this multi-chapelle structure, and also that you mentioned they're not using artificial light, and also not pushing the plants to achieve 2 or 3 crops a year. So what is this growing strategy that you're going to be using?
Yeah, look, it's a really good question, because most companies, I think, from what I read anyway, and from what I hear from other people, use a greenhouse environment where they have quite high capex and artificial light and artificial heat, and probably try to grow 2 or 3 crops per year. What our partners found when they grew for GW Pharmaceuticals was that actually you can run a low capex, low OPEX environment by using the natural season, and we have the right light conditions for this in the UK, and we can create in these multi-chapelle, it's sort of like a glass house environment. You can create the right temperature and humidity conditions to get a very, very strong and stable crop without any additional light and heat. So we grow the plan is that we will grow 1 natural season per year. And we found, well, our farmers have found, our partners have found, that you get a very strong yield when you do that. If you push the crops, the sort of average yield you start to see around the place quoted are about 400 grams of cannabis material per square metre, and they achieved 700 grams. So really strong yields on a lot lower cost base. The other really interesting part about that is that you end up with a very sort of, in quotes, environmentally friendly growing program, which of course can attract some interesting green, carbon neutral type funding and innovation funding. So by following this approach, we believe that we will have a very green, pardon the pun, growing setup, and that we will be able to attract quite a lot of financing that will not require excessive dilution to current shareholders as we build this company out. Okay. So yeah, it's not innovative at all, in the sense that our farmers did this for, they perfected this growing technique when they were growing for GW Pharmaceuticals.
Okay, so you've got your growing technique. You're going to move on with speed. It's a milestone day for the company, and of course for shareholders as well. Yes. Can shareholders, investors expect to see a timeline, a plan?
Yes, another good question. So as shareholders know, with us over the last couple of years, we try really hard to achieve and deliver and report on what we do. And we try, we know what our ultimate objective is. It is to be a strong grower of high quality medicinal cannabis in UK conditions for the UK and European/international markets. So that's the objective. And the next immediate step is getting this facility built and getting these trials underway. The other sort of timeline issue, I suppose you could look at, is that we will start to look at some extraction technology. So what do we need to bolt on to the back end of this growing to make sure that we can extract the active molecules from the cannabis plant in a GMP appropriate fashion? So they're the sorts of things we will be doing. As I say, we try not to predict too much about timelines, because we are very much trying to build a very serious business here that will be a sensible and ultimately very profitable company, but delivering on a big identified need in the UK, which is treating patients who have indications that we now all know and agree can be helped very much with medicinal cannabis. So we'll stay focused on next steps, getting this thing built. We'll obviously keep shareholders appraised of as many milestones as we can in that journey, and certainly report back on how we're going with the stabilisation of these strains and how we're going with all of the technical work to get these plants to the point where they can be rolled out at scale in a UK environment.
Okay, well, Melissa Sturgis, the CEO of Ananda Developments, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for having me on.
Thank you for listening to this Stockbox interview. For more information, interviews and videos, visit our website at stockboxmedia.com or give us a follow on Twitter by searching @StockboxMedia.